Welcome gardeners, Lindsay here with the Mindful Living Movement. For the final piece in our spring garden prep, we're going to talk about perennials. Now, I always wait until pretty late into my spring to really give a ton of attention to my perennials because I find that they're pretty hardy for the most part, especially if they're willing to survive through our zone 3. So I like to do all of my other prep first. So even if I don't get my perennials in the ground, like the second the ground can be worked, it's mostly fine. I have transplanted perennials smack in the middle of really hot July and they have come out and done wonderfully. So what kind of perennials do you want to plant in the springtime? And the truth is you can pretty much plant any of them. If you have annual bulbs that you sort of bring inside and back out, then I would definitely recommend getting those into the ground a little bit on the sooner side of things. If they're an annual, they're not going to have quite as much resilience because each year you've got to pull them back out and then stick them in the ground again at the next season. Pruning your perennials is definitely something you're going to want to do in the springtime. However, again, it's also not something we want to do early on. It's a good idea to wait until you're hitting like consistently 10-15 degrees Celsius because a lot of your predator insects, a lot of your beneficial insects, they're not actually going to really wake up until we hit those little bit of consistent warmer temperatures. And a lot of their food source is also buried in that leaf litter. So just kind of leaving that all there, letting it just hang out. I know it's not our favorite. We like to get everything cleaned up as soon as we can, but just leave it, work your soil, spread your compost, do all that other stuff first, and just leave your sort of perennials be for a little while longer if you can. Now, if you find that you want to divide some of your perennials, I would say generally to avoid any of the spring flowers. So avoid things like irises and tulips that are going to flower early on in the season. If you go and dig those up and then move them, they're not going to flower for you that season. So I would just hang on and leave those be until after they've flowered. Those guys are usually better maybe left until the fall, early fall, but really after they flowered, you can pretty much move them anytime you want. The exception being is if you've had a patch of irises, tulips, whatever, that hasn't flowered in a few seasons, they're probably overcrowded and they're not going to flower for you if they haven't. So just go ahead and move them then if you want to. Spring and fall are generally the times that you would want to transplant and divide for the most part. But like I said, a lot of perennials, especially the really cold hardy perennials, they're going to be just fine no matter what. Just make sure that they stay well watered after you transplant them and you will be good to go. So if you want to find out what the rest of my spring prep looks like, be sure to check out this link here, or I'll also put it down in the description, and it'll go through my full sort of pre-frost, pre-planting of the garden, how I like to wake up everything, how I do it all with as little effort as I possibly can, and a lot of efficiency. There is a specific order to the way that I like to do things so that I'm not sort of doubling back on things, or I don't do one thing that gets in the way of the other. I like to just sort of stagger it and move through it. And then by the time I get to, dealing with my perennials and transplanting and direct sowing, it just feels like I've accomplished all the major things and I'm ready to go. I don't have like this mad rush to do it all at once. So if you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up. And if you want more videos just like this, hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you again soon, gardeners.